Hello, and welcome to VIPanda's very important panda interview series. My name is Danielle Simpson, and I am the creator of the software service for online teachers called VIPanda. This week's very important panda is a Texan, born and raised, and she has quite a lovely story about her international classroom and her brick and mortar teaching days, then moving to homeschooling, and then online teaching. So let me introduce VIPanda Tiffany Leslie. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Well,
Typical Monday.
yes, Monday.
Yeah.
So to start off, I would love to ask you what companies you work for and what your favorite lesson to teach is.
I work for VIP Kid, and that's the only online company I work for. And some of my favorite lessons are the Level 5 Friends Around the World lessons. That unit, you talk about, connecting with people and staying in touch with your friends. And I just find that it's fun for the kids to talk about that. And they're always interested in technology and, chatting with their friends or texting with their friends. And I just think it builds their confidence. They have a lot of success with that unit, and everybody can relate to it. So I just really always enjoy that with my students.
Yeah, I have to think about Tiffany and I spoke a few weeks ago, and it's interesting that this is your favorite lesson because I know that you also have a long distance, a good friend of yours living overseas.
Yes, in Germany, where you are too. Um, and she is an older lady. She's in her 70s, and we met here where I live in Texas. She visits her son here, and then she goes back to Germany, and she gets on Messenger and gives me a call, and we video chat, and yeah, it's just great. And so always talk to my students about that, and she has sent me postcards from her city and from the Czech Republic. So I show my students the
Oh,
postcards that she has sent me from Heidelberg. And,
that's so nice.
so yeah, it's kind of fun. And
It's
they're
great
always
with
interested.
the technology. Of course, we can video call, but it's always nice getting some snail mail.
Yes. Yeah.
Fun. Mm-hmm. Oh, awesome. You just signed your third contract with VIP Kid, is that right?
I did back in October.
Okay.
No, yes, in October. And so I'm getting ready to go on 4.
Okay. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Can you tell us about your teaching journey?
Yes.
Have you your fourth contract with VIP Kid?
Um, do you want to know about from when I started brick and mortar or just with VIP
Sure.
Kid? Okay. So in my after I finished my student teaching in Texas and I was certified, I picked up a job, and it was near where I lived, but it was kind of in a suburb of San Antonio, kind of far away. And so when I finished out that year, I decided I wanted to try to get hired in the district where I live. And so I substitute taught for a while in that district, and then I got a good job, and I took over a classroom for a teacher, and then I worked in that school for about 6 years. And then when my husband and I had our first child, then I stayed home, and we knew that we would have a move coming up in there really soon. And so we did. We moved to Indiana in the Midwest and lived there for a couple of years. And then we had 3 children, and then we moved back to Texas, and then I homeschooled for many years. And then when my children all went to public school, then I got bored, and I started teaching with VIP Kid.
Awesome. So you're always staying busy. Let's go into that a little bit more. I remember when we were talking about your brick and mortar days that your
Yes.
classroom had a special name. It was the United Colors. Is that right?
Yes, the United Colors of Leslie. And back in the 80s, there was Benetton. I don't know if you remember that, but it was called it was like a brand name for, oh, they had clothing and they had fragrances and everything. And they called themselves the United Colors of Benetton.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, I guess, people my age were familiar with that. And I had children. This was back in the day before we had ESL classrooms, and really there was probably some ESL training, but there was no requirements for that in the classroom. And so I had students from Belgium, from Nigeria, from Mexico, and um, China, all over the place. And they were just in a regular classroom setting, and I had to kind of um, just tread water and do the best I could with them. And so, yeah, I got that nickname, the United Colors of Leslie, because I had all these children from all over the world in my class.
So this is where your English as a second language teaching really started, right?
Yes, that's where it started. And then I homeschooled, and I wasn't needing any ESL training or skills or anything. But then my husband and I adopted two children from Haiti, and we brought them home in 2013. And my son was older, the daughter was younger, and my son spoke a little English, not really very much. They spoke Haitian Creole and French, and my daughter was not literate at all. She was 8 years old, but she really could not decode anything. And so I had to start over with her with teaching her to speak English and learning to read. So, so I really, that was ESL training to the max right there. And I taught her to read and speak English.
So you found your niche really, like
Yes.
classroom and then with your children.
Yes, that's right.
Gift. So then once your children went to school, then what did that look like? Did you know immediately that you wanted to look for something online, or
I
what was
didn't. After all those years of, homeschooling, being responsible for multiple grade levels at the same time in every subject and everything, and then also just the transitions of adoption and everything like that, I really took probably about a year or two off from teaching and just
for you?
organized my house again and kind of got caught up on all those
Yeah.
things that I had been putting to the side for years and years. And then, then I was ready to get back into teaching. And I had a friend from homeschooling here in my city, and I noticed on Facebook that she was teaching for VIP Kid, and that's what really piqued my interest. And then I did end up signing up under that friend of mine. So, and she's still teaching and going strong, and me too. So, yeah.
Oh, well. Okay, so let's talk about online teaching. What is your schedule like? Do you teach more in the morning, or did you teach this morning?
I did. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I teach mostly in the morning. For me in Central Time, I teach from about 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. Sometimes I'll start at 5:30, but yeah, 5 to 8 a.m. And then I have to get off because I have to take my son to school, and my daughters ride the bus, but I have a son that needs to get to high school, and so I run him to high school, and that's what I teach.
And then no classes in the evening. That's you teach in the morning,
No,
and then
I'm a
your mom for the rest of the day.
yes. In the evenings, my kids have extracurricular activities, so I'm running around the city in the evening time. And sometimes on Friday or Saturday nights, if we have a rare off night, then I'll open up a couple of classes, but I never do all-nighters. I totally admire people that do all-nighters. I could not do that at this stage of the game.
Yeah, especially if you're kind of more on the morning side, I can
Yes.
see that all-nighters would be a big change.
Yes, not to that point yet.
Especially you don't only have to manage your own schedule, but you're also taking care of 5 children, was it? 5
Yes,
children?
5. One of ours started college this year, so 4 still at home, but 5 total.
Okay, yes. So
Yes.
this is also not something that you just want to throw an all-nighter in there, and then I'm sure it would affect everybody in the house.
Oh man, yes, for sure.
But it is nice to just pick up a few extra, just bonus kind of classes on the weekends. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And I get to meet some new students that way, students that I don't normally see. I do have a lot of regulars, and so it gives me a little variety.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I noticed in your written interview that you are also into the essential oils, right? Is it something that you use to help stay awake or just kind of freshen up?
Actually, I'm not really into essential oils, but I just have this random one that a friend of mine a few years ago she sells essential oils. She gave me this nice big roller of it has a lot in it, like elevation and clary calm, and boy, I found it because we never really used it, and I just thought, I'm putting that in my classroom. So if I'm just kind of, the eyelids are heavy, I'll just, just roll that on, and it kind of gives me a little perk up.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Are you a coffee drinker too?
Yes, I always drink coffee before class, always. For sure.
And some people can just like roll out of bed and then go into the classroom. Is that not your style?
No, I typically set my alarm for an hour before my first class, and I do snooze my alarm once, but then I get up and I always put makeup on. I always wear lipstick. I have
color on your lips. Yeah,
I have my designated classroom lipstick, and I always have to have that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I
helps me get rolling.
it is important, I know for myself, but to have that time to just kind of get acquainted with the morning and then start teaching.
Yes.
Especially when you have a full day after teaching too with the family.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what other kind of hobbies then do you have when you're not teaching or you're not running children here and there?
Well, I do like to read. I read when I have some time, and I like a lot of historical books. I like historical fiction. I just finished reading Little Soldiers. A lot of our audience might be familiar with that book, and it was really good if you haven't read that book.
Haven't.
Little Soldiers by Lenora Chu. It was really good. It was a little American boy inside the Chinese educational system, and it was really interesting. I would recommend that book.
It might be interesting too for like kind of a culture, like learning more about the Chinese culture and the students that we're teaching.
Yes, for sure. It gave a really good insight into what they go through, and then just comparing and contrasting pros and cons of our system in the West and their system. Yeah, it was really great.
Do you know the author for that?
Yes, it was Lenora Chu, Chu, Lenora Chu.
Okay, I'll have to link that when we put this online. And you also mentioned when we were speaking that you like to cook.
Yes, I like to cook.
Children appreciate that.
Yes, I have to cook a lot of food. All of my kids are, athletes and running around and doing lots of different things. And so it took a transition to be able to cook for 7 people. And sometimes I actually overdo it, but but we all manage to stay nourished.
I think it's funny that you say that because I also come from a large family. There's 6 children in my
Yeah.
family. I'm one of 6. And I think it was really difficult. We're all out of the house now, but I think it's difficult for my mother to stop cooking so much all the time.
Yes. It's hard to back off once you've reached that pinnacle, then it's hard to dial it down a little.
When I go home to visit my mom, the fridge is always full. Like it's
Yes.
just her, but the fridge
Yeah.
always very full. What meals do you like to cook?
Um, my children really like chicken a lot, and I also try to get a lot of carbs in there. I know people have mixed feelings about carbs, but my athletes, they need lots of carbs.
Mhm.
So, and in Texas, we eat a lot of tacos. I'm not going to lie, we eat tacos. Taco Tuesday is a real thing. We like to have beef tacos and chicken tacos, and we like barbecue, lots of meat, lots of starches.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And our adopted children too, they had some, you know, food issues when they came. They had gone hungry a lot, and so it's a security thing too for our family. I always want to make them feel like there's food there and they're not going to have to worry about it. So that's part of it too. But they've really made a lot of progress, and it's not so much an issue anymore. But in the beginning, when we first brought them home, that was a real issue too.
You were telling me just how wonderfully they've adjusted to life in the United States, not only with
Yes.
your family, but also in education. And I would love if you would share some more about their ESL and adjusting from homeschooling to going to public school, if you could.
Sure. So we have the 2 adopted children. Jefflin is the older one, the boy, and Nia, the younger daughter. And they are biological siblings. And they really had lived with their family for most of their lives before they went to the orphanage. And really, I attribute their transition a lot to that because they had an intact family. They had stability in their family, and it was just at the very end. Their parents were much older, and their mother was really ill, and that's really why they went to the orphanage. So, but my son, the older child that we adopted, I homeschooled him for a few months, and then he went to an all ESL program in a local school here, and he really excelled. And he was literate in Creole and French, and so he's really smart, and he just picked up English really quickly and had exceptional teachers. And we were very fortunate to have that sheltered ESL program for him. And so after 1 year of school in that program, he was tested, ESL tested, and they were going to put him in all regular classes in a school. And so we did that, but we just moved him to the school that's closer to us after that. And my daughter, I sent my 3 sons to public school, and then I homeschooled my daughters for a couple of more years after that, just them. Like I said, I had to kind of begin at the beginning with my adopted daughter, teaching her letters and sounds and, basic preschool all the way to try to catch her up. And she is very bright too, and she learned quickly, and she does not even have an accent anymore. Like if you heard her speak, she would speak just like an American, a Texan even. She probably has a Texas accent.
Yes.
And she went to school in 5th grade after a couple of years of, going from preschool through basically 4th grade. She went in to 5th grade and has done well every single year. And just because of the way things work in Texas, she did not qualify for any ESL services when we put her into public school. The way it works is to receive ESL services, you have to speak a different language other than English in your home. And of course, we speak English in our home. So she did not qualify for any ESL services and ever. So, so she's just done great. And she's in 8th grade now, and she's getting ready to go to high school, and I can't believe it. And she's doing great. And my son is accepted into 3 different universities that he's applied to here. He's gotten academic scholarships, and he is an athlete. So he just made his decision this past weekend, and he committed to a university, and he's going to play American football for that university.
Oh, you must be so proud.
Yeah, so proud of him. Yeah, it's great.
Wonderful news. And I think it's such a gift as well with your experience teaching in your international classroom.
Yes.
And just your experience there, that when your daughter wasn't able to get into these programs, that, you know, her mom has this experience. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
So before we wrap things up, I do have to point out your beautiful classroom. It's lovely, and we're partial to pandas, right?
Yes.
We love the pandas and also the hearts. Is this a Valentine's Day theme?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So I keep the basic background up for most of the year. The VIP kit, the stars and the apples and the sun and everything, but I change out the other things. So I think I sent in a picture of my Christmas, and I had some snowflakes and things like that, but then I just take those things off and put up some hearts for Valentine's Day, and I'll probably leave that up a couple more days and change it out to spring, or maybe St. Patrick's Day, something like that.
That's coming up soon too.
Yeah. Yep.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with us while you have the channel to do that?
Sure. I just think that, you know, I feel so fortunate to work for VIP Kid, and of course I like the money and, you know, being able to use my skills as a teacher, but I'm just really so grateful every day for being able to connect with the students, and I'm sure that so many other teachers feel the same way. It's remarkable to me that we can make these connections with these people on the other side of the world, and you know, just I love every single one of my students. They're just so cute, and I'm just amazed and really thankful to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Do you think that you will be traveling to China at any point in the future?
Well, I hope to. Before I started teaching for VIP Kid, I never would have said, you know, oh, I think I want to go to China. I never really would have said that, but now I really would like to. I've got some kids to send to college first. So I think it's going to be a few years, but someday I really would like to do that. Yes.
Are any of your children learning Mandarin?
No, my youngest daughter showed some interest in that, but you know, we're just so busy with everything that we're not. I am trying to learn a little bit of Mandarin, but none of my kids.
That's great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being a very important panda this week. It's been great to chat with you and hearing about your very interesting and very loving story with your adopted children and your international classroom.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.